First time that these guys have been here before, but you can just see there the look of the track. There's those 18 turns that we just took you for a ride around, and boy, it's very difficult to know where you're going around this circuit. Very technical, but if you ever get the chance to do a lap, you've got to do it. Absolutely right. There aren't that many reference points, are there, on this circuit at the moment? I was talking yesterday afternoon after qualifying with Shawishit Nisakun, who's in the Kawasaki Thailand team. It was his first visit here, and he was confused. He certainly was, but qualifying for these guys, the first time on the thousands was a bit of a mixed bag for some of the guys. Ahmad Yudhisthira, who did so well at Sepang, took his time to learn the circuit, of course, but he proved in qualifying on the third row of the grid why he should have been given a factory bike. At least that's what he's fighting for. Aslan Shah, who rode so well out there in Sepang as well, won the first race. Unfortunate in race 2, was always up there near the front. We saw this man on the number 21 machine, of course, that is Zakwan Zaidi. He seemed to have some sort of problems throughout the practice and qualifying, but pretty much managed to get it together towards the end. Yeah, and he looked pretty strong in warm-up this morning. So Zakwan, if anybody can get that Honda around here quickly, he can do it. Yuki Ito took a little bit of time to learn the track as well on the 1000. Of course, he won here last year on the 600 machine. So to ride the 1000 around here, a little bit more horsepower, different tyres, different brakes, a lot for him to get used to. But I'll tell you what, he's very, very strong on that bike. A few fill-ins this weekend as well. Brian Starring, who has proven to be very, very good. He's filling in for Thitipong Warrakorn, who's not here. Thitipong is injured at the moment. Yeah, he had a magnificent first outing with that brace of second places at Sepang. Then 1 week later, he was wildcard at Buriram in the second round of the World Superbike Championship. He crashed in one of the sessions and was hit by Leon Camia, who ran him over, broke 6 vertebrae. Well, it was that man there. We wish him all the best, but Brock Parks was on absolute fire in qualifying. The only man in the 52s so far on the weekend, and a 52.5 for Brock Parks. It was an absolute incredible display for him. So Brock Parks did a great job. That was a great lap. He overtook a slower bike on that lap as well, if you remember. Yeah. That's right. It could have been probably a fair bit quicker than that, couldn't it? So very interesting to see. Hopefully we can hear from him when we head down to Wheeling on the grid in a minute. Maybe she'll be with him, so it'll be good to see what he's got to say. But a lot of people that could win this one, including Brian Starring. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him doing double duties this weekend, racing in the Australian Superbike Championship and also the Asia Road Racing Championship. I know after speaking to him that this is a very important race. But let's head down to Wheeling now and she can catch up with our riders.
Thank you, Steve and Barry. Down here on the ASB1000 grid. Brock, your first pole here in the ARRC in your home race. Obviously, today's weather is looks to be on your side. It's a lot better than what we had yesterday. How are you looking forward to your first race?
Yeah, I'm really happy to get the pole. You know, it's my first one in the ARRC Championship. So, yeah, but now's the race. So the conditions are good. It's nice and warm. The best day we had here so far. And yeah, I'd just like to thank Yamaha, and you know, I'm really happy because I have all my fans here. So hopefully we can, you know, try and get a win today. Would be awesome, and see where we are in the race. So yeah.
All right, thank you, and all the best for your first race. Thank you. And then starting alongside Brock Parks today is a fresh face on the ASB1000cc grid. He's actually replacing Thitipong Warrakorn, the injured Thitipong Warrakorn, which we hope that we'll see him back on the grid very soon. But this is Australian rider Brian Starring. So Brian, your first experience here with the ASB1000, but it's also all the riders' first time racing the 1000cc here. So how are you looking forward to going head-to-head with them for 12 laps?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good time to be here as a... for me, it's a good time to be here as a replacement rider. It's unfortunate for Tigno and his injury. I wish him the best for his recovery. For me, it's a real honour to be able to race for Kawasaki in my home country here, and as part of the Asia Road Racing Championship.
And of course, you're doing the double duty, as everyone know, with the ARRC and the Australian Superbike. Is that an advantage? That's what many people would like to know. In your opinion, what do you think?
In my opinion, the first 2 days of the weekend is an advantage, and the last two, I think, is not an advantage. But today, you know, once the racing begins, and we have today I have 2 races and tomorrow 3, and this is the difficult physically the difficult part of the weekend. But in the lead up to now, probably is some small advantage.
All right, thank you so much, Barry. Wish you all the best for your first race. So good luck out there. And completing the front row alongside the 2 Aussie riders is Yamaha Thailand Racing's team, Apiwa Wongtanana. Apiwa, your first time starting on the front row for the ASB1000. You are new to this circuit compared to some of the riders that have come here to race last year. So how are you looking forward to the first race?
Yes, today is I'm happy to start in the front row, but yesterday is difficult to set up the bike. Because the first time for me is come here and step by step, and today I will try to my best, and I think I can do it.
All right, good luck, Apiwa, and we'll see you out there for the race. So back to Steve and Barry in the studio for the rest of the grid.
Well, there you have it, Barry. It's really good to see those guys on the front row there, hearing them have a bit of a chat and their thoughts about the race. I think that there could be a few people that join them up the front, though, like that man there, Aslan Shah. He's proven to be strong in all conditions. He needs to get the points too, because he had a DNF last time out in Sepang. Good results in the first race, however, where he managed to win the first race of the year. So Aslan Shah with work to do there. But what about a guy like Yuki Ito, starting from the second row of the grid? Do you think that he can perhaps latch on to the 3 guys in the front?
Certainly hope so. Yuki Ito on his day can pretty much beat anybody. He's a really positive character. He's got a big heart. He's a really brave rider, actually. So well, he's capable of certainly getting with those guys.
Just giving the sponsors a plug there, YDNA. Keep an eye on that. Probably go to his social sites if you want to find out more about that. Zakwan Zaidi, he suffered a wrist injury in the pre-season, hasn't had a lot of kilometres on his Honda CBR 1000, qualified in 5th position. I saw him yesterday just shaking that wrist again. Do you think that's still bothering him?
I think it might be a little bit, and he's racing every weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we look now at Aslan Shah on the outside of row 2. As you were saying, he's got a bit of work to do. He had a great start. He now followed by a DNF in Sepang in race 2. He's starting on the second row. His lap times are a couple of seconds adrift of the best time put down by Brock Parks. So he needs to show what he can do in the race on that BMW. But he has looked resurgent on it.
Yeah, one thing we do know about the BMW is it's certainly got a lot of top-end power, and if there was ever a track that you needed top-end power, it was this one right here. So good luck to him. Ahmed Yudhishthira, we spoke about him, we saw him in qualifying, and a good qualifying for him, qualifying on the 3rd row of the grid, but perhaps if I expected anyone to be a little bit further up, it would have been him.
Yeah, agreed. He's a really good quality rider. We look now at Ratapong Willarot.
Rathapong is last year's 600 champion, and he's made his way into the 1000cc with Yamaha. Second year with Yamaha, was a Honda rider for a long time, but it's just taking a little bit of time, I would say, to adapt to the 1000cc.
Yeah, he's taking very much a step-by-step approach to riding a superbike. He hasn't raced a superbike until this year, and we're looking there at Shoichi Nisakun, who this year for the first time is racing internationally, and he was the rider that was telling me just how confusing this track can be with its lack of reference points.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's not much to look at out there, and one thing you don't want to do is pick the wrong point. Well, there's somebody with a lot of knowledge, Makata Tamada in the pits down there. number 77, TJ Alberto. Best result for the V4 Panigale so far. He's put that in a very respectable 10th position. First top 10, I would say, for TJ.
Yeah, great to see a Filipino team here. Great to see a Filipino rider on the grid. And great to see Ducati in this championship as well.
Unfortunately, it looks like Stephanie Redmond not able to take up her grid position. I saw that she had a crash earlier on this morning, so unfortunately for her, she won't be there. But it's Tsuda, of course, on the starting out of 12th position, a 156.9 for him as he puts his helmet on his machine there.
And then we can see on the right-hand side, the bike on the right, that's Farid, who's the second of the two BMW riders. He's in the garage with Aslan Shah. And number 33 there, that's Jonathan Serapika on the BMW. Oh, sorry, that's Yanni Shaw. Yeah, Yanni Shaw, of course, from Australia. One of the wild cards who's made it here. A couple of the wild cards, unfortunately, well, Stephanie Redmond and also Mason Coote haven't been able to start due to one reason or another. But Farid Badrul Hisham starts from 14th on the grid, and it's Serapika in 15th on the number 48 V4 Panigale. Yeah, he had some electrical problems in practice and missed a session. So he's starting from the back there. Yeah, so it certainly doesn't help Jonathan around this circuit when you haven't done a lot of laps, because it is a place, as we saw on that lap on board we did earlier on, there's a lot of blind corners here. Virtually every second corner is blind, and if you get to them and you don't know whether to turn left or right, it's pretty hard to do a fast lap time. One man that does know how to ride fast around here, Brock Parks, though, probably not going to have it all his own way. He's got the might of Yamaha behind him. Kawasaki with Brian Starring will be pushing all the way. We know how much of a competitor Zakwan Zaidi is, and as you say, he's been doing a lot of riding lately. Yeah, the man starting from the outside of the front row, Apiwat Wongtananon for Yamaha Thailand. He's a very, very tough, feisty competitor, and he's just got a sniff of the pointed end of the grid in his first season on this on the 1000s. He's raced plenty of superbikes in the past back home in Thailand, but this is his first international experience on a litre bike. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he goes, actually, because his lap time yesterday was very impressive, a 53.5. To put that into perspective, Brian Starring, who's raced in just about every class there is, including MotoGP, qualified at a 53.2. So very, very close in the times up the front. Looks like 53s is going to be the pace you want to hit if you've got a chance of making the podium here. Absolutely, I'd say 53s, a little bit better conditions now. You can see the flags blowing, slight tailwind here. I do believe we're going to see top speeds around the 300km/h mark. We saw them in practice with the Ducatis extremely fast. As they head off on their warm-up lap now, it's the last time for these riders to just take a stock, get everything ready as we run through the grid. It is Brock Parks who starts on pole position with Brian Starring in second and Apiwath in third. Yuki Ito in fourth position with fifth, Zakwan Zaidi. A little bit of work to do for him. Aslan Shah also, you can never count him out. He knows how to ride around this circuit fast and hard. Yudhisthira starts from seventh with Ratabong Willarot in eighth position and Chai Witchett in ninth. TJ Alberto, what a good result for him in 10th. And Stephanie Redmond, not so sure she'll be out. She was not on the grid at the moment. Kazuma Tsuda in 12th, a good fourth row start for him. So keep an eye on him out there, Japanese fans. Yanni Shaw, good result for him on the DB Racing Services Kawasaki ZX10. And also Farid Badrul Hisham on the 1XTKKR BMW, teammate of Aslan Shah. Jonathan Serapika, work to do. He had problems in practice, and Mason Coote in 16th position, unsure whether he's going to make the start because I think he was injured yesterday. So the best of luck to those riders, and let's hope they can recuperate before the next race tomorrow. Yeah, we've got some information here from Kobayashi-san, the chief engineer from Dunlop. The ambient temperature out there is 20 degrees, track temperature 28. It was about 20 most of the day yesterday. Any surprises tyre-wise? Not so much. The three men on the front row are running medium front and soft rears. Yuki Ito also running medium soft and medium front and soft rear on the inside of the second row. Zakwan medium. Aslan also on the BMW running medium front, medium rear.
Okay, so we need to keep an eye on as they come around to line up. It looks like we need to keep an eye on Zakwan Zaidi and Aslan Shah. They should come stronger towards the end of the race. If they can hang on at the start, they could be in with a big chance if those soft tyres on the front three bikes all running with soft rears, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. And I just noticed Shawishit, Stering's teammate, is running medium front, medium rear. So he's doing his own thing to an extent.
Keep an eye on that number 24, Apiwath. He could be one to watch in this race. He's ridden superbikes plenty of times before, but he's never raced against guys of this calibre in an international event. His first international event. Brock Parks starts from pole position as the red flag goes up in the start of this 12-lap journey around the Bend circuit. It is going to be an absolute cracker. The red lights are on. We're ready for a start, and they're away for the start of race 1 of the Asian Road Racing Championship. ASB1000s here at the Bend. Heading down that main straight, 1 kilometre long, and it looks like Brian Starring with an absolute cracker on the inside. Watch Chowich, and he just makes it through. Zakwan Zaidi with a good start. Where's Brock Parks? Is Parksy up there? I can't see him anywhere. He's in about 3rd or 4th position at the moment, so Brian Starring with an absolute rocket ship of a start. Rathbone Willerot didn't get off too good though. He's back in the 8th position at the moment as they head on through, and that's a pretty impressive lead so far by Brian Starring. He's got about 1 or 2 seconds, and up the inside goes one of the Yamaha men, but runs wide, tries to go past Zakwan Zaidi. I think that was Rathbone Willerot on a bit of a charge, and he's up behind Yuki Ito now.
Yeah, and Zakwan did well to bring that Honda through into currently 3rd position.
Well, it looks like that lead that the Kawasaki man had out front, Brian Starring, hasn't lasted long, because Brock Parks has now joined the party. That was an incredible start by the Kawasaki man, but it hasn't lasted too long. Good start by Yanni Shaw there as well. He's looking good and in the pack at the moment, but Brock Parks has closed that gap up, and he's right on the back now. Something just fell off the side of Brian Starring's bike, I reckon. Not too sure what it was, but I just saw something either flick up off the track. Parksy already taking tight lines and looking for a way through.
Yeah, Brock Parks looking for a way through. That was a great start for Brian Starring on that Thailand Kawasaki. Zakwan Zaidi doing a good job to have that Honda in 3rd place. He's been chased by Apiwak on Tananon, and Aslan Shah in 5th position ahead of Yuki Ito.
It'll be interesting to see the speed difference down the straight between the Yamaha and the Kawasaki. Of course, Kawasaki with a brand new model out this year should be pretty quick, but that Yamaha has also been very competitive, the R1. But it is Brian Starring. Zakwan Zaidi, remember, he's got that medium rear tyre. If he can hang in that close and the soft tyre just goes off a little bit towards the end of the race, he's going to be in a pretty good position, I reckon.
Yeah, he's a clever rider. He's doing an awful lot of track work at the moment. He was racing in JSB, Japan Superbike Championship last weekend on a superbike. The weekend before, believe it or not, he was doing the Cub Prix, the Underbone Racing Series in Malaysia.
So one weekend he's riding an underbone bike. The next weekend he's, as Brock Parks goes through and takes the lead, Brian Starring runs a bit wide. Let's have a look at the replay here. And it was Brian Starring with that, an absolute perfect start. Apiwath, not so good. Up the inside, number 29, Chai Witchit. Look at him. He just barrel rolled through. Good start, but he didn't get turn 1 right. Meanwhile, Zakwan Zaidi tasted the lead for a second, but sits comfortably in 3rd spot at the moment. So Zakwan Zaidi, with that medium rear tyre, is in a pretty good position, but Brock Parks is laying down the gauntlet, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and that's so far you can see this intelligent riding by Zakwan Zaidi. He's making the best of that Honda. He's making the best of the conditions and what he's capable of doing on it. And as you said, he might play a bit of a waiting game for the last handful of laps. That medium tyre might well come into play. Apiwat is having a good look at him behind. He's not threatening at the moment.
No, I mean, this track is quite abrasive on the rear tyre. So these guys will be just trying to save it as much as they can. They won't be able to get everything that they've got twisted throttle in the max, except on the straight, but they won't be able to spin that rear wheel too much because it is quite an aggressive track. The Dunlops, though, they've bought some really good tyres here this year, and they're working fantastically around this circuit. 12 laps long this race. It's a long way around here, quite long, 4.95 kilometres, and plenty of turns and plenty of action. And you can see there, Apiwath, number 24, he's doing a really good job, isn't he?
Yeah, he's having a good look up on the inside. He's a rider that always thinks he's entitled to be at the front and to win. So he'll be having a good look up the inside of Zakwan whenever he gets the chance. They're being tracked by Aslan Shah, who's currently sitting in 5th position. He's having a look at the 2 men in front of him.
Well, Apiwath, he sits 5th in the championship at the moment, and hasn't had a podium in this class yet. Came awfully close last time out with a 4th or 5th position. So I'm sure that, as you say, he's a pretty aggressive rider and he knows what he wants. When he's as close as this to an opportunity to get one, I reckon he's going to take it.
Yeah, and he's been playing with setup. His race engineer is none other than Wichi Wee.
Wow.
Who's interpreting the feedback from the bike rather than from Apiwat to improve the setup as they go. But he is an aggressive rider. He's taking a slightly different approach to his Yamaha Thailand teammate Ratapong Wilrot, who's taking a much more steady, progressive approach to getting into this new ASB1000 class.
Well, Ratapong Wilrot, I know he's had a lot of experience on the 600, but what about 1000cc machines over the years? Has he had any experience?
Not that I know until this year.
Yeah, so I mean, if you haven't ridden one of these machines, especially these big ones that he's on, it can take quite a while to adapt. Aslan Shah's board being held out there, just showing him that he needs to get a bit of move on, because Yuki Ito is starting to close down that gap. But meanwhile, out front, Brock Parks, that's the fastest lap of the weekend, a 53.0, and because the ASB1000s haven't ridden here before, that's the new lap record.
Correct. And these bikes are just a little bit off. There's a slightly different specification. Just looking at Yuki Ito in 6th position. The lap times of these bikes are a little bit off the ASBK Superbike class.
Well, they are. I mean, just slightly, but in this day and age, as you can see the gap there, 1.3 seconds now, and that's a pretty comfortable gap between those two bikes. The spec of the ASB bikes and the Australian super bikes is fairly even, and the reasoning for that is that with 1 or 2 small changes, an Australian guy could race in the Asia Road Racing Championship or vice versa. So it's a really good rule set that they've put there, but we just saw a bit of a slide from number 60 Brian Starring, just lit up that rear Dunlop. I guess the other thing we need to look at is you can see the pink ring on the rear of the tyre there. That indicates the soft tyre. White ring is a hard tyre, and if you can just see, if it's black, that's the medium tyre. So if we saw Zakwan Zaidi's bike, it should just have a black sidewall on the tyre. Brock there with the pink ring on the side, he definitely has the soft. You can already see on that rear tyre a little mark of so it's going to be interesting to see if he's just trying to you know, make a break and then slow down in the last couple of laps. That's what he's got to try and do, because Zakwan Zaidi is still hanging in there.
Absolutely. They've got eight laps to go, so that's a lot of tyre wear. Zakwan Zaidi is looking good in 3rd position, but seems not able to touch the pace of the 2 Australian riders at the front.
Looks to me like Aslan Shah is starting to make a bit of a move forward as well. He's in the 53s behind Apiwath. Apiwath in the 54 set now. So Aslan Shah is definitely looking for a way past the bikes in front of him. He's starting to come to grips with the BMW S1000 RR, and he'll be looking forward to the new bike coming online as well, because of course at the moment this is the older model. 2019 sees a brand new BMW S1000 ARRC being released, so whether they race it this year or not, I don't know, but that new machine will be something that all the BMW riders will be looking forward to around the world.
I do believe I read a road test by you, Steve, on this topic.
Yeah, you may well have done, because I did ride it. I was lucky enough to ride the S1000R at the World Launch a few weeks ago, and it is a bit of a weapon, but in superbike form, all of these bikes are capable of winning, and that's what I like about the class. It's so even. Whether you're a BMW fan or a Kawasaki fan, they've all got the capability of winning with the adjustability that they've got, and they're all very, very fast machines.
The riders making the difference. I just noticed now that Appy Watt, Aslan Shah and Yuki Ito getting locked into a battle for 4th place. That's allowed Zakwan just to eke out another few bike lengths. He's in 3rd position.
Well, I'll tell you who's on the charge out front too. Brian Starring has just started to pull Brock Parks back in. Brock had that gap out to 2 seconds, but it's now down to a second, 53.2 for Brian Starring last time round. So when we get back to that battle, it's going to be pretty exciting up front. But Aslan Shah now makes a move, and he's moved his way further forward up in that group as Zakwan Zaidi is pulling away, so he needs to make a move now. Zaidi is absolutely on the limits and has pulled a couple of seconds gap, and there he goes. He knows he can't afford to let him pass up the inside of Apawath, and now he's got to close that gap down. Runs a little bit wide, but manages to make it and stay in front of Yuki Ito.
Pulled that back well now. He knows he wants to get after Zakwan. Both he and Zakwan are 2 times 600cc champions in ARRC, so they know each other pretty well.
Yeah, well, both of those guys lost a lot of time. They lost over a second that lap to Zakwan Zaidi, almost as if Apawath might have made a mistake and slowed everyone down and let Zakwan get through. And now Aslan Shah knows that if he wants a podium, he's going to have to really dig deep.
Yeah, and Ito's through on Apiwat as well.
Up the hill they go again on the hard brakes. Yuki Ito now getting more comfortable with every lap as he tips in. Nice, certainly on the apex there, leaning over. Nice style, Yuki Ito as well. Typical lean off the bike, get the shoulders all the way off the bike, hard on the gas. He's a very small-framed guy. His top speed, I need to look at it because it's got to be quick. 294 for him. Fastest speed I've seen so far. BMW 300 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, and Aslan Shah, he's pulled the pin.
Meanwhile, out front, look, there's no gap now. Brian Starring right on the back of Brock Parks, and Starring looks like he's going to go past down the straight. Not yet, but he's right on the back wheel. That gap has closed down.
Yeah, Starring doing a great job. He is, of course, standing in for the injured Titipong Warakorn, who was the championship leader going into this round 2. And his job, of course, is to take as many points as he can from the potential challengers to Titipong, and the man in 2nd place in the standings is Brock Parks.
Well, he's doing a pretty impressive job at the moment. Brock got out to a 2-second lead, and I think he was pretty safe in pulling away, but Brian Starring now managed to pull that back. But catching Brock Parks is one thing, passing him and pulling away is an absolute another. So we're about to see a little bit of action between these two, because I'm sure that Brock won't want to let Brian Starring past easily.
Yeah, so we've got a battle for P1 between these 2 Australians. We've got Zakwan currently in what looks like a safe 3rd position at the moment, and we've got Aslan Shah and Yuki Ito fighting for 4th position. They just look like they might be dropping off Apiwat a little bit.
Starring's definitely starting to look for a way through. Brock's very strong on the up brakes in the upright position. He can brake deep into the corner, but Starring dives in a bit with a bit more corner speed there. You can just see that corner speed that he carries out of the corner, but then he runs into the back of Brock, and there's nothing he can do about it. He's got to try and get as close as he can out of this final turn that we're coming up to now, turn 18, and try and, if he can, get a good slipstream and outbrake him into turn 1. He's got a good slipstream this time. He's right in the back wheel of Brock Parks' Yamaha, and he pulls out through, but is it enough to get past? He's passed.
Yeah, Very nicely done. That was planned well in advance for sure.
And it certainly was.
A very nicely executed move.
Yeah, he needed to do that. He needed to take 2 or 3 corners to pull that one off. It wasn't just a matter of you know, coming up behind him. He needed to get that run out of turn 17 onto the back wheel, carry a little bit more corner speed through and judge it just perfectly. And that's exactly what he did. 54.2 for Brock Parks last time through, 54.3 for Brian Starring. Fastest lap of the race though for Zach Zaidi. He's really starting to, for him at least, starting to find his feet now. He was a 54.0, so that was a pretty impressive lap time by Zach Zaidi, as Yuki Ito has also got in front of Aslan Shah now.
Yeah, and Brian Starring has given Brock Parks no chance to snap straight back at him. Let's see what he can do over the course of a lap.
Here we go. Just takes that slipstream perfectly. Brock's moved over to the right. Still leaves plenty of room for Brian Starring to get through. And Starring blasted past and got in the exact perfect spot for the braking area. Nothing that Brock could do about that. It's just a matter of whether he can hang on or not now. Looks like Brock doesn't have the grip to stay with him. Brian's machine just starting to slide around a little bit now. And that gap is out to 0.6 already. Starring will be putting in to the maximum at the moment. Absolutely just trying to break Brock by as much as he can.
Yeah, and he's got a little comfort margin there, which you may not have expected.
Yeah, well, I mean, catching him is one thing. When you're a rider and you can catch the guy in front, you can see that you're quicker than him, so he knows what the story is. But it looks like those soft tyres are working very, very well. 4 laps to go, 2/3 race distance gone now, and a little bit of sliding around, but not a lot. Still hard on the brakes, Starring there. He's absolutely pushing everything. Made up more time there, he did, and that gap's just 0.6 still at the moment.
Yeah, and that last lap, Yuki Ito and Zach Zaidi quick on 54.0s.
Yeah, Aslan Shah, who is in 5th position at the moment, is back down to a 54.6 and 54.8 for Apiwath. So Apiwath seems to have just faded a little bit. Hopefully he can fix that for tomorrow, because I've got a feeling that we haven't seen the last of Apiwath.
Definitely not. He's not short of stamina. He knows how to ride a superbike. So we've got, just looking at the gap there, back to Zach Zaidi, almost 4 seconds.
Definitely worth keeping an eye on though, with 4 laps to go, especially if the medium tyre starts to come in. But 3.64 seconds, it's quite a gap to pull back. Yuki Ito, of course, is a second, 1.2 in front of Aslan Shah. There's Aslan on his BMW.
Yeah, Zach made up 0.4 on that previous lap.
Yeah, he needs to be consistent, doesn't he? He needs to try and be a little bit more consistent, and I think that he would get better results. Almost won the 600 championship last year. He's moved into the 1XOXT Double KR SAG team. Good team, 2 teams joining together, in fact, and there's some good people in the garage down there working with him. But Zach Zaidi, a little bit of a wheelie there.
Yeah, that's exuberance.
Just tucks in, heads down that straight. You can see there the team manager just telling him to get a bit of a move on. Not too much you can do about that, I don't reckon, but a podium would be a great result for Zakwan.
Yeah, that was a 1:54.37 for that last lap for Zakwan Zaidi. Brock Parks was quicker, 1:54.1.
Of course, he did win the last race in Sepang earlier this year, round 1. Was wet though, so a brilliant ride for him. He certainly knows how to ride a motorcycle. Lots of laps. He knows how bikes feel on worn tyres. Yuki Ito just in the background there, trying to chase down the Honda man in front of him.
Yeah, 2 stalwarts of these series. They've spent both these guys have spent a lot of their careers in ARRC. 1 races. And gap back, Aslan Shah not threatening. He may be settling for that 5th position. Got 3 laps to go.
Yeah, absolutely, as Aslan Shah goes there. Still with 3 laps to go, it could be anything can happen, but I think that Aslan Shah is pretty much stuck in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, isn't he? With just what is it now? It's a couple of seconds either way. So Aslan Shah probably just has to ride this one out. It's an information gathering session for him now to try and see what he can feel from the bike to give to the technicians to hopefully improve for the next race. Of course, 2 races here this weekend in our monstrous coverage. And,
monster of a moto fest. It's a really busy schedule. Fantastic value for the fanciers too.
Yeah, it certainly is.
2 leading championships.
If you're lucky enough to be near the Tail and Bend complex as well, there's lots of other stuff going on around after hours as well, parties and supermotos and other mini road racing. So if you're somewhere around the area, you should come down and have a look. But if that's impossible, boy, just enjoy our coverage. I know I am. There's some fantastic riding and racing out there at the moment. Meanwhile, back at the front, Brian Starring has stretched the lead out now to 1.4 seconds. And what do you think that Fujiwara is thinking at the moment?
Fujiwara, he's been smiling all over his face since Thursday. He's really happy with how the 250s are going. He's got a huge amount of satisfaction from that. And this substitution of Brian Starring for the injured Titipong is a really good masterstroke by Kawasaki. It was coordinated between Japan, Thailand and Australia within Kawasaki. And I note from what Starring was saying on the grid, he referred to Titipong by his nickname, which is Tingnote. So he may even have met him.
Well, it sounds that way, doesn't it? Well, you know, Tingnote, you've got to say that I'm sure that Brian Starring, Tingnote, if you're listening back home at the moment, we wish you all the best, and we can't wait to see you back in this championship. We know that Brian Starring wishes you the best, and he just wants to show you that he's looking after your bike and in the best way as well. Taking points off Brock Parks, and at the moment, with only a couple of laps to go, nothing's certain, but Brian Starring is on target for victory here in race 1. We're about to start the last lap. There's the last lap board, and you can see Katsuaki Fujiwara with that fist-pumping action. He knows what it's like to go into that last lap. He's got 1.5, nearly 1.7 second lead at the moment. This is Brian Starring's race to lose. Brock Parks has got to do everything he can. Important points for him for the championship, though, with Tingnote not here this weekend, so Brock should move to the leaderboard of the championship after this race. Be interesting to see how that will pan out, but Brock would, if it finished this way, he would move to 47 points, which would put him leading in front. So then he's got the opportunity to increase that tomorrow. But Brian Starring out front doing everything he can.
Yeah, Zakwan Zaidi in 3rd position. He eased off a little bit on that penultimate lap. He's looking pretty safe there. Yuki Ito still pushing, but that's a safe 4th place to him. Aslan Shah, as you said, Steve, a bit of data gathering from him. He'll be happy with his fastest lap there, which is 1:53.949. And the top speeds, nobody's quite broken the 300 mark.
Well, no, actually, earlier on, that's lap by lap that we're looking at now, but I did see 300 from Aslan Shah's bike. Yeah, that's a good point you've made. 54.6 for Aslan in qualifying, so 53.9. Got to be happy with that, don't you? That's a big improvement, and if he can just find another little bit for tomorrow, he'll be right up the front.
Yeah, and look at Yuki Ito threatening for the last podium spot. He's up behind Zakwan Zaidi, who did slow on that last lap.
Yeah, Yuki Ito giving it everything he's got to try and get onto that podium. But as we head down towards the final curves of this circuit, it's Brian Starring who's got that gap out even more. Heads on to the start-finish straight for the last time. There's lots of black rubber there. Wheel in the air. Brian Starring goes over the line. Brock Parks in 2nd position. Some great fist pumping going on there. Katsuaki Fujiwara. And look what's going on. It is number 76. Yuki Ito comes through. Something's happened to Zakwan Zaidi. We missed that, but something big has gone on for that 3rd place on the podium. Hopefully we can get a replay of that. But it is Brian Starring who takes the win. What a brilliant ride for the Australian fill-in rider. What an absolute cracker. Cannot wait to see what he's got to say. It's been a while since he's won a race. The first race in this Asia Road Racing Championship, and he takes the bike that's leading the championship and wins a race. The Kawasaki is good.
Absolutely, and I know Titipong and his family are going to be watching this. They're going to be as happy as can be.
And yeah, look, Tamada not happy with something. Mikado Tamada, there'll be some questions asked in that box. It looks like he's, no, that's one of the Ducatis there. It could be Jonathan Serepica.
I don't know whether there was a problem. He was a little bit slow on the penultimate lap, and then on the final lap, Ito somehow converted the chance into a convincing third place.
Well, he was 3 seconds slower on the final lap, was Zakwan Zaidi. There's Murray Sale, of course, from Kawasaki. Good to see him, ex-racer and Kawasaki long-time legend. Good to see him here this weekend. But Katsuaki Fujiwara having well, I'd say the best weekend that the Kawasaki team have had in a long, long time, don't you think?
He can take some credit. He's apart from what he's done as a rider, he's a great team manager. He's full of enthusiasm, and he knows how to push his riders.
Let's have a quick look at the results. It is Brian Starring in pole position of second position who takes the win. Brock Parks in second. Yuki Ito in third. Zakwan Zaidi takes fourth. Aslan Shah on the BMW in fifth. A good result in the end for him. Appy Wath in sixth position. Seventh is Rathapong Willarot, and it's Udistra who takes his Victor Racing Team Yamaha into eighth position. As we head through the results, Chai Witchett in ninth, it's Farid Barad Hishman in 10th position, TJ Alberto in 11th, Katsuma Tsuda in 12th, 13th was Yanni Shaw, a good result from Yanni Shaw. Jonathan Sarepka from Switzerland, 14th position, and unfortunately, the last two competitors didn't finish the race either. Stephanie Redmond, so that was the end of the racing for them this weekend. But back to Parc Fermé, and how excited is the Kawasaki team right now?
It's fantastic for these guys. So, 2 races in, we've got a first, a second, 2 firsts and a second.
I mean, how would you be? I mean, the first 2 laps, it looked like 2 or 3 laps, it looked like Brock Parks was going to run away with it.
Yeah, that was a really clever race by Starring.
But it looks like Brock hasn't taken his helmet off yet. Looks like that Brock lost a little bit of grip or something towards the end. Definitely lost a little bit of edge grip or drive grip compared to Brian. So the good news is that Yamaha team is a fantastic team. They'll be able to work on that bike tonight, the Yamaha Racing Team ASEAN, and they've got some good people there, Olins as well. They will let me know to see what's going on, but they can hopefully fix that Yamaha by tomorrow.
Yeah, and Starring got the power down. Well, you can see how well he knows the Kawasaki as a bike, can't you? Because he got the power down so well at the start and then managed it through the race.
Well, he said on the grid that he was going to, the first 2 days of this was an advantage, and the last 2 days was an advantage. I wonder what he says about that now, because, boy, to win the way he did look after his tyre in the first part, but towards the end, he rode a perfect race. Well, let's head down to Wheeling now. She is one of our winners, and we'll find out what it is that they've got to say.
All right, thank you, Steve and Barry. Down here at Parc Fermé with today's third place finisher, Yuki Ito. Ito, a very last-minute push for you to grab a podium finish here in race 1. Share us, how was the race today?
Yes, yeah, I mistaken my start. It's down to about 6th position, and but I know Brock and Starling is so fast, and my target is first is Zakwan as long as some rider. So I just beginning lap I follow them, and found the get line, and finally get catch up for Zakwan. So I'm so happy the 3rd place.
Okay, thank you so much, Ito. Congratulations. And coming in 2nd place today is Ito's teammate, Brock Park. So, Brock, you had not the best start, and then you managed to pass Starring, but throughout halfway through the race, he managed to start opening a gap. Share us what happened throughout the race for you.
Yeah, I just lost rear grip. The back tyre was finished for some reason. It only started this morning like that, and all weekend we've been going really good with the tyre life, but I'm not sure what happened. It just completely went away, and there was nothing I could do. I just kept trying to stay with him and see if I could be there at least to attack, but I couldn't stay at the end. So we need to do some work tonight and find out how to get a bit longer life out of the tyre, and then tomorrow try and see if we can battle tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much. Well, congratulations. And today's race 1 winner from Kawasaki Thailand Racing Team, Brian Starring. Congratulations, Brian, your first win in the ARRC, and of course, a great performance from you today. A great start. Share us how was the race.
Yeah, it was an interesting race. In the beginning, I had such a different feeling from the bike. Maybe it was the fuel capacity in the tank, or I'm not so sure. But I had a lot of movement in the bike in the beginning, and then when Brock made some gap on me, I thought, okay, just wait. And then when the bike came to me, I made a big attack, and in the end, we finished the race very strong. So thank you very much to Kawasaki and all the team. It was a fantastic race.
All right, congratulations, Brian. We'll see you and Brock and also Ito on the podium shortly.
Well, that was a great few words from our winners down there at the moment. Of course, Brock Parks with a little bit of work to do, and Brian Starring very, very happy with that. So Yuki Ito, what a good result for him too. He certainly did come to the par. Let's hope he gets a better start tomorrow. But what a race it was, with the Kangaroos joining in on the fray at the time. Aslan Shah probably wasn't worried about Kangaroos. He wanted to get a good start, and he did jump off the start, but not as good as Brian Starring, who got the perfect run into turn 1. Chai Witchett up the inside, threaded the needle right through the middle, and that probably didn't help a lot of people. But it was of course, Apiwak, who got a good start, and he was having a good run. Meanwhile, back out front, the number 60 thought he was going to run away with it, but Brock Parks had other ideas. Parksy got into the lead, and at that point, the number 60 thought, well, I'm not going to be able to hold it. I've got to let the bike come to me, which is what he did. Zakwin Zaidi, good job, but he had some problems there.
He did. He looked really strong for most of the race. It was just in those final 2 laps, because he held off quite some stiff competition in the early stages.
Yeah, he certainly
did. From Ito, from Aslan, but he stuck it out, and he got the reward at the end.
Yeah, he certainly did. He had to come from a long way back, did Yuki Ito. Had a lot of traffic to get through. He had to get past Aslan Shah, got past Apiwak. Rathabon Willarot was in the back there, but it was in those final laps that Yuki Ito made his way up to the front.
Yeah,
but,
looking now, I think, at Starring making his move.
And then it was at this moment that Starring felt good enough. He got back past him after catching him at almost a second a lap, and took the lead. At this point, I think Brock knew there was not a lot he could do about it, because he was watching his lap board, and that time decrease. Aslan Shah looked pretty good, did a good lap time, got into 53s as well, 53.9 for him. That bodes well for the races tomorrow. Let's hope that he gets a good start. Zakwin Zaidi's team's in the background there, they could see what was happening, because Yuki Ito was catching him up hand over fist. Zakwin was getting slower and slower. I don't know what the problem is. I can't wait to find out, though.
Yeah, I'll pop down there later and see what happened. That was a surprise.
At this part of the race, though, all Brock could do was hold it together as they headed over the line for the last lap. And Katsuaki Fujiwara knew that he could have his 3rd victory in a row, of course. Well, sorry, 3rd Kawasaki on the podium this weekend with the 250s on the row. And now this 1000cc victory, the first victory for him on the 1000cc ASB circus.
Yeah, and we just saw there Yuki Ito shaping up to take Zakwin. We didn't actually see the move.
And as the race ended, Brian Starring looked over his shoulder. Fujiwara was pretty happy, fist pumping, and couldn't wait to give his man a big cuddle. And he did, and a well-deserved cuddle too. What an absolute great display. What a race it was. And this Asia ASB 1000
in second place also from Yamaha Racing Team ASEAN, Brock Parks. And today's race 1 winner from Kawasaki Thailand Racing Team, Brian Starring. We'd also like to invite the team manager from Kawasaki Thailand Racing Team to join the riders on the podium. And we will now stand for the national anthem of Australia. MP, Deputy Premier and Attorney General of South Australia to present the riders with their trophies. Coming in third place today from Japan, Yuki Ito. In second place today from
result there, the Honourable Vicky Chapman, MP, Deputy Premier and Attorney General of South Australia, passing out the trophies. It's good to see everybody here this weekend.
Yeah, they got the real political heavyweights out in force today, that's for sure.
We've got Parks, of course, collecting his hardware. It's good to see him smiling. His smile's not as big as Brian Starring's, though, is it?
No, definitely not. And it was quite an insightful winners interview with Brian Starring. How he said he let the bike come to him. I thought that was quite a revealing comment on the maturity and just the absolute professionalism of the rider.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's ridden lots of different motorcycles. He's ridden many Kawasaki's, and he's the man doing the most laps here this weekend as well. So not a better way to start off than he has really with a win in race 1 of the ASB Championship. And there you can see he's got that number 1 next to his name. Yuki Ito, very, very impressive. Good finish to the race for him. And I'll tell you what, if he gets a good start tomorrow, it's going to be, he could join these guys up the front.
Yes, he could. As we were saying at the start, he took his time today, but yeah, if he gets away well, he said himself he messed up the start.
Well, in the championship, of course, things have changed around because Brock Parks has moved to the top now with 47 points. Ting Note, unfortunately, not here this weekend. We wish him all the best. Is on 40 points. Zakwan Zaidi maintains that 3rd position in the championship now with 38 points. 25, Aslan Shah is in 4th. Appy Wath is in 5th. Yuki Ito is going to make his way forward over the course of the weekend in 6th position. Brian Starring jumps up to 7th with a perfect 25 as well for him. TJ Alberto in 9th, Amadou Distra in 10th, 11th is Farid Barrel Hisham, Jonathan Serabka gets 12th, 13th is Raji Krishnan, and 14th Chai Witchett, 15th Kazuma Tsuda, and Yanni Shaw picks up some points in 16th position. So that is really good to see for him. So that is the end of the ASB 1000 race. But do not disappear. We will be heading to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to go to the 600s. Of course, they created such a stir here last year. Fantastic racings. So after this break, join us for the 600 Super Sports.